did the trial of Galileo show that science and Christianity are at war? Let's look at some of the controversial things that he discovered through his telescope, and then we'll decide. He looked and saw that Venus goes through phases, kind of like our moon. This actually killed ancient astronomy, but it didn't prove the Copernican view. There was a third alternative, called the Tychonic view. According to this view, Earth is at rest in the middle of the universe. Sounds like the ancient view, and was in sync with the best evidence at the time. No experiment proved that Earth moved. The sun in the Tychonic system goes around the Earth, again, just like the ancient view. But what made it new is that Tycho said the other planets, they go around the sun, including Venus, which would produce the very phases that Galileo saw through his telescope. But Galileo strategically sidelined the Tychonic system in his book that was under investigation by the Inquisition, and the Inquisition was right that Galileo exaggerated his case for the Copernican view by underemphasizing the Tychonic view, which was in sync with the best evidence available at the time. Another thing about this story that many people don't realize is that Galileo wanted to teach his own church the truth. He and the church agreed the Bible is without error and science can find truth. Where they disagreed was how to interpret these two sources of truth, nature and scripture. And furthermore, there weren't just two camps. You had the pro-Galileo scientists, the pro-Galileo theologians. You also had the majority of scientists and the majority of theologians who were against Galileo. So there were a whole range of viewpoints, so you can't simply tell this story as one group of scientists versus all the religious fanatics. That's just not accurate to history. The next time you hear that the Galileo story shows that science and Christianity are in warfare with each other, and typically are so, realize that there's nuances to the story that show otherwise. It was complicated, it was messy, and in the end, it was an embarrassment to the Catholic Church. I mean, look, Galileo had to recant his Copernican views, and he was charged with vehement suspicion of heresy and had to live under house arrest. It wasn't until a generation after Galileo that finally the Copernican view was proven by science, and theologians came along and said, you know, this really can be consistent with the Bible. But remember, there were multiple viewpoints, and Galileo was not against the church. He was trying to educate his own church. But of course, it failed. Church authorities did overreact to Galileo's book, but he wasn't thrown into prison or tortured. He was put under house arrest for the rest of his life, which meant he got to live in his comfortable country estate looking over the city of Florence.